And welcome back to the Vitality Coach podcast, the first one for 2018. And lucky enough, I'm able to be based from the home office this week before I head out on tour again. It's going to be exciting. So first stop is Melbourne. The most important thing that you guys have been asking at the moment from the podcast and from the blog and online and sending me messages via Instagram on the hashtag Cues with Nikki is really getting out of your own way. So how to really make sure that you can totally detach from the stories that are in your head and really make good, wholehearted, centered, gut feeling decisions. And a great guest on my show that you'll get to meet, Michelle Chiffon from the Adult Chair, always talks about operating from the chin down. So operating from your heart and your gut, not the chin up, which I think is really important. So how do you get out of your head and into your heart this year to make really centered, focused, calm, effortless, success-driven decisions? That's what I want to talk to you about today. So for those of you that haven't tuned in before, I'm Nikki Fogden-Moore. I'm the host of the Vitality Show. We're heading up hopefully to about 100 episodes in the next 6 weeks. This is episode 84, and I want to thank my team as well, especially Florante, for bearing with me. We've had long moments between episodes, and now we're back on track, and it's really good. I guess I wanted to try and find what the real value was going to be in some of these discussions. There's just so much out there at the moment, and so much overwhelm on information to start your New Year's goals, to get ready to have the best year yet. And I like to turn things a little bit on its head and talk to you about evolution, not resolution, and also why your ego is not your amigo. It's so important to understand that. So a great couple of notes that I'll put on the show notes at the end of this, and also on the video notes on Vitality Coach TV, are some books that will really help you understand how you can divorce the story and stick to facts and stats so you can really be the CEO of your life as well as your business. So come with me on this little mini express session today just to get you started. Hopefully you're listening to this in your car or you're watching this on a tablet or a device somewhere. I just want to give you a couple of my mojo making tips on how you can get out of your own way and set really good goals this year and actually achieve them seamlessly week on week for masterful months and a remarkable 2018. So let's come back to the beginning and talk about why your ego is not your amigo. What is it that determines all these stories and these alter egos in our head? The one thing that puts up roadblocks. We don't have ourselves permission to shine when there's constantly something on our shoulder going, don't, start that diet today. Why would you start that business? Why would you hire that person? Why bother? Why do this? Why do this? You should do that. All these big constraining kind of fears and boundaries that are constantly being presented to you. No matter how old you are or where you are in life, everybody has them. You never really completely get rid of those stories, but what you can do is start recognizing all the different egos that sit inside you and just give them a little nod of acknowledgement and realize that you don't have to be defined by those discussions. It is the most powerful thing when you can untether your soul, as Michael Singer says, from knowing that your head and your heart are two different entities. When you start to have a heart leadership driven life, when you start to listen to what your true values, your true inner compass, your GPS, that ultimate vitality roadmap that I always talk about, really things become a lot more simpler. The number one thing also to understand, there's always going to be challenges. It doesn't matter where you're at, whether you're at university, starting your new business, leading a corporation, just selling yours, or looking at legacy right now. Every single one of us is going to be coming from somewhere on the way to somewhere else. We're going to have history. We're going to have family history. We're going to have history at work. We're going to have challenges that we have to overcome. We're going to have to think about finance, health, friends, family, well-being, the ability to help out in our community. Everything's going to be confronting to us as we go through life. So that's a given. What isn't a given is how you deal with it. It is absolutely your choice how you deal with the things that come across your path. And that's purely down to your perspective. A lot of people tell me that I walk around with rose-tinted glasses on and I'm eternally optimistic. And I'd have to argue that that's not really the case. I understand what it's like to fight to run a business, to understand what type of clients you want to work with, to go through transition periods, to go through relationships where perhaps you're not yourself and you have to filter all your actions and who you are. And I also understand what it's like on the flip side to be back in control, to stand your ground, to hold your space, to understand what truly motivates you from within and be the true best version of yourself, no matter what avenue you might be sitting in at that moment. So let me tell you, every single person that you think has a great life on social media, or maybe someone that manages you or owns a business or someone that you look up to, has had to go through the school of hard knocks as well. They've had to figure out their game plan. They've had to divorce the stories, get away from the ego, and start making good, conscious decisions on what's going to be the most beneficial, truthful, wholehearted based way to operate. It's really, really powerful. So a couple of tips. You might want to get the book Untethered Soul from Michael Singer. You also might want to get the book The Power Within from Mike Duff. A really great guy. He's been on my show a couple of times as well, talking about the fact that when we grow up, predominantly we kind of sit in one or two camps. It's never enough. So you come from a really educational, driven background that you can achieve anything you want, but you're constantly feeling like whatever you do, whatever title you get, whatever job you get, whatever you do with your company, it's just never enough. Or you come from the other side of the fence. You're never enough. Like, don't bother. Why would you even start that? Who would love me? Who would hire me? All those kind of self-deprecating sort of comments that go through our brain that have somehow surreptitiously started in our childhood. You absolutely need to know from this point on that no matter what avenue you came from, what upbringing you had, where you started your business, where you got your first job, however it was your family constellation, that you absolutely are enough. And when you come from that place on a daily basis, which takes practice, you can understand that all your power is within you, that you can have a higher self, you can have calm, integrity, values, and respect, and that ripple effect will not only go through into your relationships personally, but it will also have an outstanding result for you in a commercial and business sense as well. So the more authentic you are and the more that you trust yourself and you come back within a better guided inner GPS, the more successful you'll be with the less effort. And let's go back as well to talk a little about these stories in our heads. I know that they're not going to go away, but it's how you deal with them. So what I like to do is give my ego a name. Let's say Bob. And I know when Bob's on my shoulder talking to me going, why would you write that book, Nikki? No one's going to listen to it. No one's going to read it. It's just, stop putting all this content out there. Who's listening? It doesn't matter. So Bob is always going to be challenging me, telling me to give up, telling me it doesn't matter, telling me I'm not worth anything, telling me that nobody cares. However, I have a sense of self-worth and also an understanding that Bob is just a story in my head. He's not the reality. What I like to trust is my inner GPS and my compass. A lot of the people I coach, however, have forgotten how to trust that. Where does that lie and what does that feel like? The most important thing I can tell you is that trusting your inner GPS, that feeling is an instant answer. It doesn't take a long time to come. It can happen in a nanosecond. So the first answer that you get whenever you ask a question internally is usually the right one. The rest is just logistics, it's just stories, it's just counterbalancing, procrastination, roadblocks, and your ego getting in the way of you just giving something a go. So my challenge to you today is to step aside from your ego and to start recognizing when that little voice in your head, or living above the chin, as Michelle says, starts engaging you. Don't buy into it. Start living below. Live in your heart and your gut and understand that you are the most important decision maker in your life. You have all the knowledge. And as Chris Lockhead on the show says, there are two things you can do when you're faced with a challenge. A, you can figure out that you need more information because you don't need to know what to do next. Or B, you just aren't doing the work. So there's always two options. One is that you need more information in order to execute something and move forward. Or two, do you know all this, but you're just not really doing the work? So step out of your own way and come back to these very simple decision-making tools that will help you actually create a roadmap to achieve the goals that you want to do. And the swing back to this whole thing this morning while I'm recording this show for you is I want you to think about, what have you really set for your intent and resolutions this year? What are your goals? Remember, I always speak about the power of the 3 hours of goal setting. Does it resonate? Is it relevant to you? And is it real time? If that goal does not hit those trifecta points, then it's got to go off your list. If you won't fight me for a certain goal, if you're not determined to have it, then you're probably not going to succeed in that area. You have to be passionate about things. They have to light you up, and you have to have purpose, which means it makes it much easier to get buy-in from people around you. The last part of all of this is, how do you get people to support you when you're going through this change? And suddenly, you wake up and you start communicating about your new vision, and you start getting really excited about what you want to achieve, but you find that nobody around you and your circle of trust, whether it's work, family, friends, or anything else, are kind of supporting you. My biggest advice is, don't expect people to deliver what you haven't communicated you need. You need to step up and be accountable. You need to ask people to support you and empower your friends and family to be there on that journey with you. Even if it's as simple as saying, this is really important to me, I'd really appreciate your support, instead of trying to sabotage this. Anything you can do to support me in this area is greatly appreciated. I like to call it #adulting. It's no point wishing that your life will change if you're not prepared to put the work in and do all the elements yourself. So you'll be in the same position this time next year unless you start changing your perspective. And a last analogy, which I use a lot in my keynotes, is the Buddhist monk analogy. When Buddhist monks come out with their qualifications and they've finished their studies and they've put everything into practice, they don't run out of the monastery with a certificate and then go down to the pub to celebrate and then never practice it again. Becoming a practiced person in this world, becoming the best version of yourself, overcoming self-doubt, building up confidence, creating change, and having a life that you love means that daily habits have to form. That means, getting rid of the stories, identifying your goals, being purposeful with your time, understanding who it is that you want to hang out with. You know that the people that you are closest to, 6 degrees of separation you'll end up becoming. So really choose your friends, your family time, and be deliberate in who you're socializing with as well. Be careful, be mindful, be kind, and have humility. It's okay to want to be driven for something, but what you don't want to do is railroad past other people and do it at all costs. So just like being a Buddhist monk, being the best version of yourself takes time. It takes you to divorce the stories and think to the facts and stats. That's my mantra. Think like a CEO, plan like a visionary, act like a Buddha. That means, what are the information that you're going to need to achieve your goals? Where is that coming from? What are your resources? Who are your dream team? And what's the strategy behind it all? Not the fluff, but the real core strategy. Plan like a visionary. Is what's happening to you at this point in time really the end of the world, or is it a tiny blip on this landscape of life? Really put things into perspective. Being stuck in traffic, standing in a grocery line, your computer not working, technology going off, not having your phone are not end of the world issues. Your coffee doesn't turn up in the right way. Whatever it is, have perspective. Is what's happening to you in business, is what's happening to you at home a life-defining point, or is it just a small thing? If it's small, just let it go. And the third thing, always act like a Buddha. No matter what's going on around you, it's so important to stay centered and calm. I like to use the New York City analogy. Imagine that you're standing in Times Square and everything's super crazy around you. There's all these lights and it's fast moving and so many things are happening, but you're just there centered and calm and still and quiet. You're holding your space. Nothing can take you off track. That's the type of vision and centeredness that comes from working from your inner GPS and not your ego. So this year, guys, remember, your ego is not your amigo. There are many, many tools out there to help you practice the art of self-belief, of divorcing the story and sticking to the facts and stats. I'm going to put all the links on the show notes. I wanted to give you a short Vitality Daily Edit today to kickstart your perspective around how you're going to be the leader of your business and your life this year, and the fact that 75% of conversations happen in our head, but the most interesting and true navigation happens in your heart and your gut. So follow that at all times. Be a heart leader as well as a thought leader. Wishing you a healthy, wealthy, wise day ahead. I hope you like this little Vitality Daily Edit. And if you've got questions and comments, I'd love to hear about them. And thank you for being patient with me as my journey for the show unfolds. And I get to take you on tour with me for the Ultimate Vitality Tour in 2018. We've got some cool destinations, some amazing workshops, and also lots of cool offers with books and online programs. Send me a message. It's the easiest way to get hold of me. Instagram at @Fogden-Moore, Facebook Fogden-Moore, and of course thevitalitycoach.com.au or nikkifogdenmoore.com. Until next time, guys, you stay healthy, wealthy, and wise, and thanks for tuning in to Vitality Coach TV and the Vitality Coach podcast.